Welcome to the Impact Effect podcast. Ryan Daniels is in the house, and do we have an episode for you. Ryan has done so many things in the life that he lives, but more so recently was over in Ukraine. So we're going to dive in a little bit about that, a little bit about what the future looks like for Ryan, and talk about some real raw content. The thing about the Impact Effect podcast is we talk about impact, the positive impact that you're making, but we want to get to the truth. We want to understand what's going on in the world and how amazing people like Ryan Daniels is making a positive change. So Ryan, welcome to the Impact Effect podcast, man.
Hey, dude. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm happy to talk about my experience and happy to be here with you.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. As you know, first question on the Impact Effect podcast, how do you define impact and how do you show up in the world and provide impact today?
I guess I would kind of define impact on something outside myself. If I give something to someone else or, like the environment, the ocean, something where I feel like I'm giving something back, I guess. That could be people, like I said, the environment, animals, just simple stuff like that. And then for me, last couple of years have been kind of interesting for me. I've done a lot of traveling, like I said. A lot of those travels were not based on trying to create impact. It was more so trying to expand my idea of what the world is. But specifically Ukraine, when I had the opportunity to do that and I met the right people for that, I had thought to myself, I need to do something more. I need to do something to help people so I don't feel everything I'm doing is greedy. And that's why I chose Ukraine. I was looking at Israel and a few other things. A couple of those didn't pan out, but in a lot of ways, I'm very happy I went to Ukraine because I know I made an impact there and I'm still continuing to make an impact today, which again, I really appreciate your help on having me on this podcast to talk about, because I feel like my impact on my own only goes so far. When other people understand what's actually going on and they can talk about it, the impact just quadruples and continues. You know what I mean?
It's the ripple effect, right?
Exactly.
It's one of those things where it's like, hey, if we can share it, why not? And then see what happens with it, whether it's good information or negative information. At least the truth is getting out there so people can define it and make a decision amongst themselves.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
with you, man. I'm with you. So tell me about Ukraine. Tell us a little bit about how you landed there, what you've been doing over there, and what your experience has been.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to talk about it. I'll be honest with you, it was a lot. I kind of briefly said before, it was my first time really doing something like this outside of, I had been in the military before. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. So I kind of thought the whole Ukraine thing would be a good idea, thinking that I had this background experience to where I could handle and deal with a lot of this stuff. And it turns out that there's a lot more to it than I thought. Like in the military, you're trained a certain way, so you have expectations, and Ukraine was totally different. But what actually brought me there is, so I'm actually the alumni director for a nonprofit called Warfighter Advance. We specifically help veterans there. And in my duties as the alumni director, I met a number of people that, when the war kicked off, veterans had this thing, man, like they run into the danger. I don't know what it is, but I met a lot of guys. I stayed in contact with them as the alumni director because that's what I do. I contact them every month. And, like I said, when I was trying to find something to do, like I was looking at teaching English or saving turtles, Ukraine just, I don't know, kept popping up in my head. So some of the guys that I had known from this nonprofit work that I did, they went over there and they were telling me all about it. And basically I was kind of talking to them and they gave me some contacts, and I reached out to these contacts and they were like, yeah, we could really use your help. And then like the one specific was Konstantin Bashkirov, who was the head of the Organization of the Red Cross in Kharkiv, which if everyone knows, Kharkiv is on the far east end of Ukraine. It's pretty much the last oblast right on the Russian border. Kharkiv is, I think, like within 20 kilometers of the Russian border. So you got glide bombs, you got drones dropping ordnance, you got rocket attacks and everything. For some reason, I thought, hey, this is good. This is what I want to do. And honestly, it was great. So, I contacted them. There's a lot that goes into going to Ukraine. Some of it you can choose to or choose not to. I made sure to, do some stuff with my family. I contact State Department, let them know, because some Americans have gone missing over there, and just being in an active war zone that's shelled practically every day in Kharkiv, there's a lot. But
what's going on in your mind as you're making this decision or navigating information around this decision?
I'm I don't know, man. I still try to figure that out sometimes. I knew I wanted to help, and I knew that my prior experience in the Marine Corps, like, I'm not bragging about my experience by any means in the Marine Corps. It was hard, but I had a really good career. I only did 8 years, and I went to Iraq and Afghanistan, but I am decorated for my time in the Marine Corps, and I did well. I actually did better in Iraq and Afghanistan than I personally thought I would have, to be completely honest with you. So I was like, some things were going on here, and I couldn't seem to help anyone here. I just wanted to go and help. And the more I contacted them over there, I was like, they really need help. And like Constantine and a number of other people were like, we could really use you for X, Y, and Z. And we would love it if you have over. So like, I really kind of dug down into learning Ukrainian and seeing what their needs were and contacting people within. And by the time I got there, I wasn't thinking about anything but helping. It didn't really hit me until really probably around Christmas morning when we got shelled a lot, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I am legit at the front line of this war. Everyone was telling me that when I met them in Lviv and Kiev when I went over there, but it didn't really hit me until I was there. I was doing the rapid response team. There was some demining work, humanitarian aid deliveries, evacuations, and some other things that I did on the side. Like that's when everything kind of hit me. So in a way, I kind of wasn't really thinking. I just wanted to help and do something. So I felt like I was making an impact, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you for all the things that you've done for this country and also what you've done in Ukraine. I can only imagine what emotion that is in the preparation, let alone on the front line, like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Is that a moment of fear? Is that a moment of excitement? Is that both? Like bring us there for a second.
I'll tell you, man, and I'm not trying to sound too corny when I say this. Like, I'll kind of go back just a little bit. When I went to Iraq, like I said, you're kind of trained for it. You're in the same mindset with everyone else there. So I know a lot of guys, I'm not taking away from post-traumatic stress and everything comes back, comes with people from there. But I feel like when I got back from Iraq, I was able to kind of digest it in a healthy manner. And I did okay. When I went to Afghanistan, it was kind of the same way. Although I was combat injured in Afghanistan, I was still somehow able to hold it together. And I thought for the most part, most of this time, I was good. Like I was, there were a couple of times I was fearful of things happening specifically in Afghanistan, but I just, for the most part, held it together. They're just something about those experiences has made me just want to be in life and just be a good person. So I've been able to ride that out. Ukraine really kind of flipped some things for me. There's a couple things that happened over there. And specifically, I'll tell you this, and I think about this a lot. The shelling on Christmas, I had just got my own armor and I was at the 9th floor of this building. So basically, like the building I was at was on the front end of where all the drones come over and everything comes over from the northern part of Ukraine where the Russian border is. So pretty much everything would hit the power plants and everything would come over my building. I would hear Russian drones flying over. There'd be Ukrainian soldiers below my building shooting up, trying to shoot the drones down. Nothing really clicked with me until Christmas morning. It was Christmas morning. We started getting shelled. I knew that if something hit my building, I was dead. I was on the 9th floor. I'm the first one going. I got my armor on. I sat in the stairwell for about an hour, and I just kept thinking about how, like, I miss my house. I miss my backyard. I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss the people I love. I miss my dogs. And something about that day clicked with me. And I've never done this before. Even when I got injured in Afghanistan, I did not want anyone to know when something was wrong with me. Like when I got injured, I never told anyone. It wasn't until I came home from Afghanistan, I actually said something to my parents about getting injured the way that I did from Afghanistan. But I called my parents that night because I really thought, at this point, I'd seen a number of shellings and issues already. I'd already seen some of the things that the mines, which I could talk about mines, the things Russia has done as far as deep mining goes over there. But something about that just triggers something. I miss the people I love. And pretty much that day for the rest of Ukraine, the whole trip felt like it meant something different to me. And I'm still trying to get that figured out in my head, to be honest. So clearly a lot of fear there. I still put the work in and everything.
Yeah.
But that definitely got me.
It's wow. It hit me. I'm just thinking through. You put me in a place where I'm putting myself in that stairwell with you. And the only thing that I can think of is how much gratitude I need to have more being in the United States right now in this, chair, having this conversation with you.
Yeah, same thing here, man. I just kept thinking about the wonderful people I was still in touch with. I loved my dogs at home, how my family was going to be opening Christmas presents. My dogs going to be opening their Christmas presents. I just wanted to see their faces. Yeah, man. Like if I didn't have gratitude before, everything since I've been home, I came home and I was like, I need to make everything right. And it has not gone to plan at all, but I'm still good. I think it's done something where I can get a lot more from this now. So I feel like part of me kind of understands things a little bit more than I thought I did. So we'll see where that takes me. I'm still trying to figure it out right now.
As far as some of the things you had mentioned, what other experiences do you want to share with the audience around the truth of how it is and what's really happening over there?
Yeah, so there's a lot to share, but I do want to kind of start out with this. I know there's a lot of politics, especially since I've been home. It seemed like the idea of what Ukraine was totally flipped its head by the time I left. I was there, the last couple of days I was there was when US aid, so US aid over there is a big deal. They do a lot for Ukraine. The last couple of days I was there, it kind of got flipped on its head, and I saw that. So I was really disappointed in that, not with the USAID workers I had met, because I know it's not their call, but I was very disappointed in how all these entities, all these wonderful humanitarian groups, these volunteers do all this stuff together, plan everything together, and how much uncoupling happened from USAID disappearing, and how sentiment towards Ukraine changed with some stuff when it came to that. So I was really disheartened to see that and just come home knowing what some people were saying about Ukraine, because Ukraine, I don't think people understand what Ukraine really is. I think a lot of people think of it as like a third world country. It's a first world country, man. Like wonderful, welcoming people. I didn't have any issues with the people whatsoever. I mean, they're just trying to live their lives too. And the fact of the matter is, the Russian aggressors have now gone into their land multiple times, not even if you're counting Crimea, but really they've been at war for a long time. It wasn't just 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. It's been going on for a while. People are just trying to run their businesses, live their lives, protect their kids. And Kharkiv is especially, you see it all in Kharkiv because you're walking, buildings have been shelled. The kids go to school underground there because the shellings are so common. It's just trying to wrap your head around the fact that these are normal people that are not Nazis, not trying to hurt anyone, just trying to live a European lifestyle. And they're getting glide bombed from aircraft. They're getting shelled from artillery, from drone strikes, from rocket attacks. To an extent, there are Russian sympathizers in there pulling off some really not so nice, kind of nasty things. Not to include a lot of these areas, Russia's making a lot of gains. So in Kharkiv, specifically Kharkiv region, to the east is a city called Kupiansk. When I was there, for the most part, Russians were on the east side of the river that Kupiansk sits on. By the time I left, they were pushing over west across the river, which is really bad. So near the end, a lot of that was Russians encroach really fast, and anything within the Russian line within 25 kilometers, you evacuate. So we were driving over, evacuating. When I couldn't go, they were still, the Kharkiv Regional Organization, the Red Cross, still going over evacuating. Like the evacuations, the humanitarian aid that's needed because the roads are just bombed out. There's old equipment sitting elsewhere. Like it's not like you and I can just drive to the supermarket and pick up food. They don't kind of have that there. They have small markets. So some of these outlying cities, you're driving this road for 2 hours with a gigantic truck full of humanitarian aid with no shocks on the truck. You're going 20 miles an hour or less for a long time, just dealing with that to deliver this food to people that don't have working cars anymore or are just struggling to make ends meet. So there's that, and not even including, like I said earlier, the mines. North of Kharkiv, lots of mines. I didn't specifically see that, heard about it, but one of the other places I mostly spent time there is a city called Izium. At one point was also controlled by Russia. It's like a whole crescent around the bottom half of Izium. It's just mines everywhere. There's butterfly mines, there's anti-tank mines, some of which were just piled up on the side of the road. And one of the times that I went down there to do some demining work, the reason that we went down there is because people were literally going to visit their families at their graves because they had already been killed by the Russians. And they were stepping on butterfly mines, going to pay respects to their family. So butterfly mines, those little green ones, it's just enough to blow your heel off, tear your foot apart, blow your toes off. It's enough to maim, not kill, but wreck your life. And A lot of these people don't have this healthcare right there. It's not like I can rush into the hospital in 10 minutes. It's excruciating for them. There was one call we went out to where the person that got hit, I have a picture of it. The boot just got blown off. The boot's just sitting there next to where they got hit. It's just, yeah. So like that, evacuations, humanitarian aid deliveries, demining, the rapid response team, there are multiple teams, especially in the Kharkiv, the Red Cross. Basically, every time a shelling goes on, they have a standby team. Shelling happens, and they go and they bring the dogs out and they get the bodies out and they save people. All that is just it's a constant flow of. It never ends. And I saw that with the team there. I'd go there, help them as much as I could, but even I got exhausted by their hours sometimes because they're just always there, taking phone calls to try to get people evacuated, doing training for stuff. I mean, it's just trying to like synchronize all that in my mind of what that all looks like for the people that are still there. I only spent 2 months there, and they've been doing this for 3 years. Just guts me, man. Like, I feel a lot of guilt. I want to do more for them, but that's what they're dealing with. Like, that is just what they're constantly dealing with. And we like to think they're all the way over there. But the truth of the matter also is, like, Ukraine kind of is the front line, because if Ukraine falls, what's next? We already know Moldova was in the cards. We've already seen what they've done in Russia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, kind of some of the proxy stuff they've done in Romania, Germany to an extent. Like, I'm not saying we sacrifice more lives and go to war or do anything crazy. I'm not talking politics, but I think people need to be real about what it is. And it's Ukraine is a country, a free country, based in a treaty from 1990 that we agreed to, and they're being invaded and they're being murdered for no reason.
And it's real lives, and it's lives that you've built relationships with.
Yep.
And to see what happens at the level that you've seen it, it's tough. I can only imagine. Yeah. Did you make any relationships with folks there while you were over there?
Tons. I'm still talking to them almost every day. Yesterday, I got a message about there's a city called Sumy that's west of Kharkiv. It's almost a staging area for some of what was going on in Kursk. And they had a shelling or a glide bomb, I'm not sure which, and it killed like 30-something people. And they messaged me about that because I had gone to Sumy at one point. So imagining that happening there kills me. They've also been reporting to me lately that the service there is not as good as it used to be. I think that has something to do with U.S. aid. Having power in Kharkiv has been a little bit more difficult lately. I think that's because U.S. aid directly did help with the power grid, because Russia's constantly hitting the power grid to basically freeze people out or make people uncomfortable. So there's that going on. So more shellings. And I'm sure you've probably heard, and I don't think people also really understand this, Ukraine is so short on manpower. And these guys, I met this one soldier. He had only been home for 6 weeks since the start of the war. 6 weeks. So they're short on manpower. So when you're walking around Kharkiv, there's an app that they have that marks where the recruiters are. So the recruiters are literally just out on the street looking for men. And if they find you, because I actually got grabbed one time too, they didn't even let me take my passport out at first. It took me about 5 minutes to explain, hey, I'm American. I'm here working with the Red Cross. I'm not going to join your army. I can't legally. But like, they're doing that. So some of my really good friends over there are worried about that. And unfortunately, one of my really good friends over there, Anton, he got grabbed about a week after I left, and he's in the military now. And that also really guts me, because this dude told me when I met him, because I asked him, what if this happens? He was like, I don't know, man. I don't want to kill anyone, though. If it comes to me killing them or them killing me, they're going to kill me. And this dude is forced to join the military. And like, I understand it, but it's just gutting. And his wonderful girlfriend, Sasha, who's also a really good friend of mine, I kept in touch with, she's home alone now, trying to pick up the pieces, figure out what does this look like, how long this is, are we going to get married, when can we have kids? And he's not the only one. It happens every day. I mean, there's literally, like I said, an app that has all these spots. You can only imagine how many picked up every day. There are guys that I know over there that literally do not leave their house. They just work from home. They stay in their house because they're so afraid of getting picked up and made to join the military.
I think it's one of those situations where you're opening up the door to that level of risk, no matter what your political views are on it, no matter what your humanitarian views are on it. But that's a decision that you can't make. So you open that door, you open up that level of risk to be on the front line in a week or two. I've interviewed a couple other folks. They told me it's like a 7-8 day process before you've got a gun in your hand and you're going to the front.
Yep.
And like, just think about that. Think about that. If we were at, to the folks listening in the United States, think about that. All of a sudden, you get on TV that it's a mandatory draft, right? And
crazy.
And you go outside, you have the opportunity to be dragged into the draft, like on every corner that you're saying, right? Like that's the reality. It's on every corner as well.
Yep.
Put yourself in that place for a second and think about that. Think about the decision that to go fight for something isn't yours anymore, right? That's pretty deep. It feels like you lose all your rights at that point.
Yeah. And I know the Ukrainians are very pro-Ukraine. They love their country. And I know they want to do more. But the idea of like going over and killing people and dealing with all that is because they never know when it's going to end. Like, I love my country. I would fight for my country. But even still, if my country said, hey, join us now, can't give you the proper gear. I know you're going to freeze. We don't know how long you're going to be in. Crazy.
What do? Do you escape? Like, how do you get out of that situation? Do they have people and opportunities for them to leave Ukraine if they don't?
As far as I know, unless you are like medically incapable, and I have heard, I have not seen it, I have heard that doctors over there make you pay a premium for your medical certificate saying that you're not fit to serve, basically. I've heard it's very corrupt, but again, I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it, but I've heard that. That's really the only way that you're going to be able to leave now. Now, early on in the war, some guys were able to leave. I don't really know exactly what timeline it was that shifted, but now, yeah, like if you wanted to go see your family that now lives in Germany and you're a dude, good luck.
Wow.
So they're going to have to come to meet you in Lviv or something, which is a relatively safe city, even though right when I got there, it also got shelled. But
with the advancement in the war and technology today, is there anything that you've seen on the front lines that you can share with the audience who may not have been in the military prior to this interview, understand the snippets and the bullshit that's on the mainstream news? Like we don't have a good picture of the truth of what's happening over there, right? And remove the politics, just the reality of what is physically happening. The United States people and citizens don't understand it. We don't see it. We're not over there, right? And for me specifically, someone who is in contact with multiple people that are still over there, folks like you who have come back to the States and have done a lot of time and a lot of, humanitarian and work and put their lives on the line. I have a little taste, right? But there's a lot of people listening that have no idea. What can you share with the audience right now that paints a little bit more of a clear picture of what that day looks like? You talked about Shellings, you talked about glide bombs, but like paint the picture of, are you walking outside to take a piss and there's body parts on the ground? Is there smoke in the sky? Paint a picture for those folks who might not be able to visualize it just out of the blue or what the mainstream media has given us to consume.
Yeah. No, so in certain parts of Ukraine, that absolutely, body parts in places, yes, that is a thing. Mostly in the city of Kharkiv, it does rely on Shellings. They're relatively quick to respond to that, pick up parts, put people in bags, clear the area, safe the area. But all around the line, that's really is what it is. There are areas. I will say this, I didn't do the Red Cross the entire time I was there. There are some other things that I did. But as far as like the warfare of what it actually looks like there is some stuff that I did see over there. And I do know two of the craziest things to me to put in my head about what that war actually looks like is you do hear the news talk about just the amount of Russians that are available to just throw away. And that really does happen. North of Kharkiv, north of Sumy, down south. Russia literally is saying, okay, you 6, go that direction, see if you can cross the river. Oh, all right, well, they're dead. Now you 6, cross the river and go over there. So, and now Russia is also doing this thing where they're like, hey, if you're Nepali, Indian, Pakistani, come over, we'll have you a job over here. And then they come over to Russia, they take their passport, they give them a fake one, make them join the military. That was the thing too, up in the Kursk region. So it wasn't just North Koreans, which are at this point, a lot of people didn't believe that at first. It's very validated. We know that's true. But they're just throwing
so you're saying a total bait and switch. You come to the Russia, we need your help. All our men are in the military on the front line. We need your work. You need to do this, help with the network, IT, electricity, infrastructure, tech, whatever. You get over there and they bait and switch you, and now you're a slave to the Russian military at that point.
Exactly. And it has happened a lot. And I know for a fact, I can verify personally that has happened.
Wow.
And it's crazy. So that's the first part.
Some of the stuff you said you did, is that something we can discuss here today, or should we stay away from that?
I can talk to you about some certain things that happen. I don't want to specifically talk about what I did.
Perfect. I want to make you comfortable as the gentleman I'm interviewing. So we go where you need to go, Ryan. If we need to stop, you just holler at me, brother.
No, we're good. I'm good on that part. I just, I don't want to take away from the Red Cross and just generally the Ukrainian people. I didn't want to do this talk too much about myself, or make it sound like I'm some war hero, because I'm not. But yeah, to kind of go back to your question too, though, it is amazing to me how many people can just be thrown over a line. And to what we were just talking about, there was an area I was in, and I know that the drone warfare has taken leaps and bounds over the years. I had no idea what those leaps and bounds actually looked like until I was in an area 2 separate times, and there were so many drones in the air, big drones, small drones, white drones, black drones, some running into vehicles, some just sitting there recording. It blew my mind, because I know we will always need people on the ground, but having drones that can do a lot of the observations, not always relying on people to fire artillery, which it's just crazy to me how much has been replaced by drone warfare, and where Ukraine has really put us with that. A lot of that is credit to Ukraine. Yeah, you got the Iranian Shahed drones all over, relatively inexpensive to make, easy to crash and drop stuff. But the stuff that Ukrainians are making, I've heard it all. I've seen some of it. It's crazy. They have a drone now that Ukraine has, and we've tried it. The U.S. has tried it, that can fire a machine gun, where basically the drone pre-pivots itself with thrust to account for the fire coming from the drone, the machine gun drone. Just absolutely mind-blowing to me. Yeah, so those are two things. Like conventional warfare, as far as what you hear from Vietnam or World War II, has changed. Iraq or Afghanistan has changed. Iraq or Afghanistan was also very unconventional for the most part. Like a lot of the time, we just sat there and waited, and after we got rocketed or sniped or something, then we reacted. This is kind of old school warfare with this added advanced tech addition thing. So yeah, cool. Like it's two lines fighting at each other. These guys happen to be running, but also take into account, these guys might actually know that you're here, and you start running and they know exactly what they need to do to take you out. So it's not like you're just rushing into the jungle or rushing into a Kasbah or something. You're running right into it. And we have so many videos, and Ukraine shows them all the time, of just Russians just like running into it. And I feel a lot of these guys too aren't just Russia, that, pro-Russian guys. At this point, there are a lot of guys like given no choice out of prison, or like I said earlier, the North Koreans, or the guys that are getting the whole bait and switch thing. So it's sad, but those are the two things that blew my mind. The amount of people that Russia just willing to throw over and just cannon fodder, and then just the drone warfare is just amazing. And like I said earlier too, these things were flying over I could see them. I have videos of these things just flying. They are all different. They're all different sizes, all different colors, all different shapes. I mean, they all have some sort of ability. Some of them drop ordnance. I mean, it baffles the mind how far Ukraine has come with being able to produce these things in country, considering everything. I'm proud of them.
When you say drones in the sky, is that like everywhere? Or is it one or two? Or are you just like, wow, this is what's going to happen in the next second? Like there's one here, there's one there, there's one over there, there's one. Are they just everywhere?
So not always. Like if I was in the city, like shopping or just trying to go out to eat, if it wasn't closed or if we had power, I can't say I saw them because like the bustle of the city would kind of like drown the noise. But my floor where I lived, because I lived like I said on the kind of the northern end of the center, sort of on man, I can't remember the name of the street now. Novgorodska Street. Can't remember the name of the street now. But like the drones from the northern border flew by. So there would be many times that I'm sleeping and I hear them. Wow. So I'd go to my window and I take the recording of the drones flying by. Some of them were black with little red lights. Some of them were small. So yeah, in a lot of cases, I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew for the most part, they probably wouldn't fly the drones into my building because there's no tactical advantage to taking out my building. So I was relatively safe there. But, I would worry about what are they going to hit down? Like, are they going to hit the university again? Or are they going to hit the mall again? What are they going to do? So I was always kind of worried about that. But man, the drones is crazy. And there's just tons of them, lots of them.
How do you sleep at night?
I don't know, man. Like I didn't really think about it too much when I first got there because I just thought to myself, like, I've been here before. I've done this. I've been there. I've done that. I've been shelled before. I've been rocketed before. I've been indirect fire, IDF before. And it's one of those things where like, if it happens, it happens. The only thing that kind of got me there too is at least in Iraq or Afghanistan, there's enough distance where you kind of had a little bit of a warning. A lot of the times in Kharkiv, because you're so close to the line, by the time you hear it, it's a little too late. So like I said, even that night on Christmas, I just kind of like surrendered to my fate. I sat there for, I don't know, probably about an hour with my gear on in the stairwell. And I was like, I got to sleep, man. It's Christmas. So I just went into my room, shelling still going on, mostly south of me, and just waiting for my turn if it happened. I think when you get in those situations, you try not to think about it too much, to be honest. And I used to not have an issue with that now, but it seems to be coming back to me a lot more now since I've been home, and I'm, like I said, trying to figure some of that out.
Yeah. Is there support here?
I have a lot of support. I have a lot of friends, a lot of family. I have my Warfighter Advance, the nonprofit I work for. So I'm good on that end. There's been a number of things that have also happened too since I've been home that are a little disheartening and sad. My grandfather passed away and one of my pups just passed away and some other little things in there. But I'll be good. The good news is about working for the nonprofit and what I've been through already. I kind of recognize the signs and I'm just doing basically whatever I can do, the right things long enough to keep myself going. I kind of told you on the phone a while ago, there's some other things in the relative future I'm working on, planning on, that's keeping my mind busy to get ready for that too. So I thank you for asking. I do appreciate that. But for the most part, I'm good.
Good. I can imagine to an extent, and I have no idea to the reality. So I just wanted to make sure you were around the right people. I'm a big community advocate, so I know that, it's tough when we're not around those good-hearted folks that are always looking out for us.
Appreciate it.
With your nonprofit, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the States and kind of how you're helping and impacting people's lives that way?
Yeah, sure. And it's easy to talk about because I love the program. When I got out of the Marine Corps in 2016, I was having some really weird late onset post-traumatic stress symptoms from some things that were happening in the Marine Corps when I got out, some other things that kind of triggered it. So I went to Warfighter Advance back in March of 2016, and I've pretty much been with them ever since. It was a group of really wonderful people who now the vast majority of them I call my friends, which obviously they got me as the alumni director and numerous other things that I do. But mostly what we focus on is, it used to be just veterans, but now it's veterans, first responders, and we do take some civilians that want to learn about different things. We mostly focus on the medication aspect of, I can't speak to it as well as the founder can, Dr. Beaton can, but it does appear to me that, the amount of suicides that happen in the military veteran community, some of that is actually attributed to a lot of the way that we practice Western medicine. We have a system where if, let's say my father dies, God knows, I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon, just an example. And I go into the doctor's office and I'm like, my dad just died and I'm depressed. And the doctor will hand you depression medication. There's no care plan, no explanation. You don't know how many milligrams that is, what that means to you, how long you're going to be on it. And you take these, and there's quite a bit of evidence showing that a lot of these SSRIs and other attributed medicines that kind of go on the outside of this actually increase suicide symptoms. So Doc V had an incident when she was in the Navy a while ago and kind of started thinking about this and came up with this program. So the program mostly focuses on, like, you don't have to have a diagnosis of anything. if you say you are having, I hate to say the words, but like anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress, and you want help from your career or your experiences, we'll fly you in for free. The flight's free, the gas is free, the rental car's free. It's all free to you. They come in and they basically do this group activity for about a week. And we talk about medications and care plans and trying to figure out what works for you and giving you all these other ideas. We have nutritionists come in, other psychotherapists come in. We have like a mayor that comes in, Delegate Brian Crosby comes in for Maryland, and all these other supporting military people that have been through the program come back as mentors, and they just basically help you. It's nice for the aspect of like kind of being able to address a lot of these issues. But in my opinion, the biggest thing is, at least what worked for me, is a lot of veterans get stuck in this, like I call it like a low cycle. They're exhausted, they're tired, they don't know what to do with it. So they kind of stay in the same bubble and they don't get out of it. So in this case, we're like, hey, fly out. We'll give you food. Your food's free. Your travel's free. Come stay with us for a week. And you get this week break with a bunch of like-minded people, and you're able to talk through your problems if you wish. You're not made to talk about your problems. You can if you want. And it just gets you out of it. Because there's only one place in the entire world that I know of, that I've been in, that you can reinvent yourself every day. And that's the military. You can go into work one day in the military and mess up terribly. Come in the next day and be like, hey, Staff Sergeant, hey, Lieutenant, I messed up yesterday. I'm going to fix it. And they accept that. It's really hard to do that in like a family setting and a friend setting, because people just don't get that. So at Warfighter Advance, you can kind of do that. You come in, you're fresh. You start over. You say what you want to say. You talk about what you want to talk about. And by the time you leave, you have this whole other group of people that want to help you, take care of you. And you can go home and you just had this week break to think of everything. You can kind of just get a restart. So I love it. It's great. We got the Nonprofit of the Year award 2 or 3 years ago from the state of Maryland. Definitely very recognized and very good. So I really appreciate it. I really like it. It helped me. And I see every day what it does for, especially as the alumni director. We have 750 alumni at this point, because we have about 20 each. We call them evolutions. So 750 every month are contact. I hear about everything that's wrong. I personally reach out to probably about 75 of them. Just some guys that are kind of on the outliers, or I've established a rapport with. And also being a combat veteran really kind of helps in certain cases, but I see what it can do for them. So yeah, I love the program. It's great. They're my friends. I can't say anything negative about them ever.
It's unbelievable work, man. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And your dedication to it, I can just feel it through this conversation, right? I can see how lit up you are around it, and you are perfectly fit to help those folks. You are. You've been through the things. You've come out to the other side, and you're giving back, but you also doing it in a way that you can create that level of positive impact. And I couldn't agree more around the SSRIs and the medications, right? And, I can give you an example of a civilian, a woman that I dated when I was 21, who was dating another guy. 10 years later at 31, got prescribed medication for anxiety and was telling him she wanted to kill herself. And we both know this woman, and we both know that she's not suicidal. And it was literally after a week of taking those pills. I've seen it myself firsthand with a relationship. Our relationship was platonic at that point. We dated 10 years ago, but also someone close to her that wasn't platonic, was actually involved with her. So it's not just this out of the blue situation. It's the truth.
Something caused that. And I also want to say, I don't want to completely bash medications, because I do think medications have a place. It's just a matter of looking at the way that Western medicine handles it and sells it and just wants you to get on it.
What's the long-term plan, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how many milligrams am I taking? When am I going to get lowered? When am I going to go off it? Why am I taking it exactly based on your observation? Like, what's the care plan? What am I doing here? Am I on this? Like, I work with some Vietnam vets, dude, that were on medications all the way up until a couple years ago. Vietnam now, that's 40 something years. And these dudes have cancer, skin issues. Some of them, one grew breasts. Like, there's some interesting dynamics between, and it's worthy noting that most of these medications are not studied long-term at all. You don't know what they're going to do to you. So like I said, I do think medications, to an extent, I'm actually on trazodone myself to help me sleep, because I just couldn't sleep and I was falling asleep at the wheel, and I didn't want that. So I think they have a place, but I knew when I was going to take trazodone, I had a care plan. So they have a place. I don't want to bash them, and I don't want to bash the doctors doing, because I know they're doing their best. But the way that we do it is fundamentally flawed in the U.S. Other countries, when they come over and they see commercials about Paxil and Zoloft, they're like, they don't have that over in Europe. You know what I mean? It's weird that we're selling medications the way that we are, but that's just me.
Yeah, agree with you. And I think a lot of folks listening to this probably do as well.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully we're entering a new era with some of the stuff that's going on in politics.
Yes.
But I think at the end of the day, we just want the truth. And that's why we wanted to bring Brian Daniels on the episode today and really hear about a different type of positive impact, a type of positive impact that Ryan's made on humans, real people with real pulses, waking up just like you and I today, comfortable in the United States, not so comfortable in Ukraine. And at the end of the day, we want to hear the truth. We want to know what's going on over there. And Ryan Daniels is the man to sit here and tell us what his experience has been and what the truth and where it lies around what we've seen in mainstream media and around some of the other conversations and interviews that we've had, right? Anything can be framed or reframed, whether it's, verbal or video, right? We're in a world of technology. We're in a world of silencing things and exposing others.
Mm-hmm.
And what excites me so much about our conversation today is, folks, this isn't someone who's read articles and is saying what they've read. This isn't someone who has gone over there, took a video and got on a plane and came back. This is someone who's spent time over there with their people, who's been on the front lines, who's been having conversations and building relationships with people, who's still engaging with the citizens and the folks over in Ukraine. So what you're hearing today isn't fluff. It's not just, hey, Ryan read an article, or Ryan, is involved in some level of intelligence here in the States. What you heard today is what he experienced in real life and what is happening today and every day to the Ukrainians until this war ends. And it may never end. Who knows? At this point, we need to just tell the truth. So I'm just grateful for you to share with us today. Is there anything else that you want to share with the folks before we wrap this bad boy up?
Really, it's mostly kind of what I said at the very beginning. There are a lot of questions surrounding Ukraine just because of the way our news talks about things. I ask you to go around and get sources from everywhere to try to paint a better picture of what everything actually looks like in Ukraine. They're very good people. They're pro-American. They're just trying to live their lives. And I just really want to push that forward because I lived with them. I was with them. I adopted their behaviors because I was with them for so long. They're good people. I just want people to understand that. And I really do. I got to throw a shout out to Ukrainian Red Cross of Kharkiv. Wonderful organization. They treated me so well. I can't talk good enough about them. Rocky and Emmy Durham from Durham Humanitarian. I met them. I know they're doing wonderful things over there. Shannon Taft, he's going all around Ukraine, just doing first aid training, which is very needed there because there's just so much going on with that. I appreciate the opportunity, and God knows I hope I get to go back soon. I want to see them, take care of them. All my friends who I consider family at this point, I miss them a lot.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for just telling the truth and spending some time with us today. And we'll talk soon on the next episode of the Impact Effect Podcast.
Cool. Thank you, Jim.